Hi guys, and welcome to the end of day one. And what a day it has been. So remember to come across to OnTableTop.com. We have tons of prizes. So we're running live streams, we're running the live blog. There's just so much content of new games and new releases and all sorts of stuff that is launching this weekend. So come across. Remember, we're giving away 3 Monsterpocalypse starter sets this weekend. There's a post on the homepage where you can get involved and comment to win that. Also on the live blog, go in and check out each of the entries. Most of those entries have prizes connected to them where you can go in.
50-60% of the ones we've got in there so far have a prize on them. So get involved and get some really cool games. Really cool stuff. So yeah.
And also, we are going to be giving away vouchers to random commenters to spend on the OnTabletop store. So if you head on over to store.ontabletop.com, you can have a look around what's there. If you're into your 40k and stuff, yeah, you want to head over there. You want to post a few comments because you could win some vouchers to spend there. Right, day one.
Yeah.
Highlights. What's stuck in your mind today, Ben?
Cool. So hopefully one of the videos you've seen today is the one from Phalanx where we talked to Yarrow, who was telling us about some amazing games they've got coming up. I talked about it a little bit in the intro this morning, but you've got war games, you've got classic strategy games, you've got U-boats, which is amazing, one of John's favourites, which is very, very cool. Come and see him talk about it. He talks for quite a while about the games and he's very, very invested in them. He absolutely loves them. And they're not just for the hardcore either. There's some really good strategy games in there which are good for beginners, which is really, really good.
Europe as well is one of their ones that they're going to be bringing this year, and it's a fascinating look at what happens just after the Cold War ends, and you can dictate what happens to Europe as wider.
Both of that game and their one, which is like Road to Moscow, I think it is, are both Kickstarters coming out very, very soon. You can actually win a prize with them to win a copy of Divided Europe when it comes after the Kickstarter release, which is very cool.
What about you, Rye?
Well, I managed to, after I interviewed the guy from Pashko Sacco, the chess game about loving each other, yes. I got to interview him, and it was probably the best interview I've ever done at any convention. It was fascinating. Probably one of the best chess variants I've ever seen. They say it's not chess, it's a game about love. So instead of capturing pieces on the board, you move these pieces into dance with each other. So they entwine and become one piece. So what you can do within the game is build a lot of chain reactions, and that really changes the nature of chess. Since no pieces leaving the board, it's just a complicated dance where you're trying to have your opponent's king fall in love with you. It's amazing. It's a beautiful message about love and harmony and dancing. I love it. And you love it. Surely you'll play with me. Surely you'll dance with me.
I was going to say, you also got to talk to Hub Games as well, didn't you, today?
Yes.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
I love Hub Games.
I was referring to my paper of reminder +1, which is telling me all about things, yeah, so.
Yeah. I'm particularly excited for anything Hub Games do, but this year they're showing off Flip Over Frog, and Megacities Oceania, both designed by Michael Fox. Oh no, sorry. Megacities is designed by Michael Fox, and so Megacities is almost like you're building your own little city on the ocean. It's set in like the 22nd century, and you're building up all these plastic pieces. And then Flip Over Frog is like a memory game, which is very deceptive in how complicated it can be as a tile placement game. Very interesting.
Well,
you had some fun this morning.
I've had some amazing fun. Yeah. I got to spend some time with the new Citadel contrast paints. Ooh. And I put them to the test. One thick coat is what they got.
As Duncan decrees, so shall be.
Yes, so. Dunk told me one thick coat, and man, I laid it on. So I have a good video over on the YouTube channel and on the live blog where I sit and I analyze these paints. I spread them out on pallets. I do a load of tests of them. They are absolutely fascinating. So we have a bunch of Space Marines and other minis that we've run some tests on. They've been drying all day. So during the course of the weekend, I'm going to bring them back, and we're going to have a closer look at them and talk about how I might use it and how I might use it differently. I've also seen my best of show.
What was your best of show?
Already on the first day?
On the first day, I have without doubt seen my best of show. Okay. It's got to be Parabellum. They are somewhere over in that direction, that general direction over there. Yeah. You can see a sign of it over there. So Parabellum have brought Conquest, a tabletop war game that they've been working on now for the last couple of years. Okay, and it is extraordinary. The miniatures in this game are so beautiful, but they're beautiful in such a robust kind of a way.
They've been oversized as well, haven't they? I think. Well, to the normal 28mm wargame standard, anyway.
So these are bigger miniatures. They are so well constructed. They feel solid. They feel heavy. They feel like they're going to smash your head in. And then they just paint themselves. Yeah. The models are designed in such a way that basic paint jobs are just making them pop. They look incredible. I did a video where I went around each of the kind of the demonstration gaming tables that they had. And guys, I am just in love with what they've done. They have built-in flexibility from the start. So all these miniatures come on circular bases, but they plug into movement trays to allow you to very fastly have big battles. Yeah. Guys, you have to check this out. The 100 Kingdoms have cavalry to absolutely die for.
That's one of the factions in the game, is the 100 Kingdoms, yeah.
So it's an amazing backstory of, it's a fantasy game, but it's an amazing ancient aliens kind of a backstory where there's
fire clones.
Yeah, where there's a lot of kind of manipulation of the DNA of the planet, and they tried to enslave humanity, but humanity was too independent of thought. So they create these other Gribblies. You want archers? We give them 3 hands. I've had a blast. I'm desperate to get over there and try and get a game of it at some point this weekend.
So now we're going to do something pretty special, aren't we? We're going to lead you on to come and see some of our highlights from the show so far.
So, here's the highlights for day 1.
All right, everybody, we're back at UK GE 2019. I'm here with Michael from Hub Games. Michael, what are you showing off this con?
An inability to stay awake because it's Friday morning and we did like a 16-hour day yesterday.
Oh, God.
But we will survive for you, the people.
For you,
so
just
what
for
are
you.
We showing off? Our big new game is Mega City Oceania.
Very excited. Can we get just a little bit of footage of Mega City? Let's see if we can get a little look. So tell us a little bit more about
this is designed by myself and Jordan Draper, the legendary American dude who lives in Japan and makes the weirdest, wonderfulest games. The idea behind it is we are 22nd century architects building the first ever floating megacity. So we are building these gorgeous, beautiful superstructures on floating tiles. So a little bit dexterity, a little bit Eurogame, and then you have to, when it comes around to your turn, you've got a completed building, you must float the building into the central city. You're competing for prestige, but you're collaboratively building a city. Now, just looking over there that you've just seen, somebody might have knocked into the table and knocked down 1, 2, 3, 4 buildings.
How dare they? How dare they?
But there's rules in the game to build around that, which is entirely okay. Once the game is done and all the contracts have been submitted, we then also have an awards ceremony at the end, giving out bonus points for everybody, and whoever has the most prestige points is the winner.
Fantastic.
It's a beautiful game. I keep on waxing philosophical about it because it's like every time you build, every time you play, it's a unique experience, and it's things like I'm probably getting a little bit too deep into the bucket.
It's absolutely gorgeous. I've been following this on Twitter since you announced it. When can we expect to see Mega City?
So it will be available at Gen Con.
Excellent.
There'll be a handful of copies up for pre-order that we will have there. It will then be in stores in September, and then it will also be at Essen this year.
Fantastic. I can't wait to see it.
Cool.
And if we shuffle over this direction, we've got Blank and we've got Blankdemic. How's it going for Blankdemic?
Blankdemic is going really nicely. We've actually been speaking to a couple of people here as well about upcoming designer booster packs.
Brilliant.
Can't say who they are yet. I can say that one is Polish. That's about it.
Fantastic. I have an idea of who that might be. I'm looking forward to hear.
But then we have one of our other new babies as well.
I cannot wait to see this.
This is the surprisingly, deceptively tricksy flip over frog. So we saw this at Essen. It was designed and put out by a company called Gotani. Rory played it, absolutely loved it, made us all play it, and it was just like, oh crap, this is really, really good. So the idea behind it is you are, at the very beginning of the game, given one of these secret little round tokens, and you keep it hidden, keep it safe. But your objective is to get the most of those frogs in play at the end of the game. The end of the game being when all of the board is full of frogs. You have a handful of 3 tiles, these all happen to be the same, and whenever you add one at the start of your turn, it flips the other tiles that it's pointing to. So this one would flip here. Draw another one, it's all good. So then the next player, they take their turn, so they could take this one. You could put it on top of a tile, the back of a tile, or any empty space, but again, that would flip that and that would flip that. The third type of tile that you've got are the snakes, and the snakes will eat and remove a frog. So it looks like a simple kids game. It's cute, and it's got happy frogs on the front cover of it. It's bright, it's Technicolor. But then you realise that it's actually one of the most deceptively nasty area control games ever created. And this one is again coming out in September.
Cannot wait. That was my next question. When can I have Flip Over Frog?
Very soon.
I read the blog post on it that you posted on Hub Games, and one of the things it reminded me of, and I think you might appreciate this, but the kind of card games from Final Fantasy 8 and Final Fantasy 9,
yes,
where you're flipping over and you're taking control of other cards from when you play, but it's really nice to see that it's one part area control, memory game, but also like trying to deduce what frog color that your opponents have. So
it is lovely and sneaky, and I am genuinely terrible at it, but I still like playing it because I mean the game is over in 10 minutes. Which means, you know, yeah, sure, you might lose, but just play again, have fun, enjoy the experience.
That's wonderful to find a game that I could talk to you about this game for so long and about the production, but it's wonderful to find a game that not only you're not very good at, but you want to play in spite of you not being very good at. That's something I've found a few times in my board game collection.
I think that's our theme for this year, because Mega City is very much that. It's like, so I obviously in my design for it, I wanted to make sure that even somebody who has very shaky hands like me can win. Oh no, another building.
Another building fell down. Oh god, what can we see? What's going on over there, pal? Oh my!
It was getting into the city as well. Terrible.
Absolutely terrible. These architects cannot be trusted.
They can't. You know, this is what you get when amateurs get on the job. It's very, very bad. So we are just, we're still making our own thing. We're making the games that we want to play, and thankfully, a lot of people are also into it, which is really, really nice.
Very much so. Now, Michael, we asked this of developers when we come here.
Yep.
Would you like to give away a board game?
I think we can do that.
Fantastic. What would you like to give away?
So, if you get in the comments, we will give one person a copy of Holding On, The Troubled Life of Billy Kerr, which is now officially released here. It was previewing at last year's UK Games Expo, and now, of course, it's out, it's available, and one of you can get a copy of it.
Comment down below. It's my favourite game of 2018. Again, like with a lot of your games, I could wax lyrical about it for hours and hours and hours. So, comment down below, guys. We'll pick you up in the next video. See you again soon.
See you later.
Okay, what I'm excited about, guys, this officially for me is the highlight of the show. The Parabellum stand there displaying Conquest. We're going to take some time just to appreciate just how spectacular this game is looking. So Conquest, a new fantasy war game, releasing July or?
No, it's end of June, after June 20th. We're hoping for June 20th. It might be a few days afterwards.
So releasing end of June, it's just incredible. We've had these guys in the studio. They've been building up over the course of the last couple of years. They've been working relentlessly on this. It is now nearly here, and you have got to see this, right? So if we can walk around each of the tables, guys, just to let people see the spectacle of this game, because it's the slightly over scale of it all. This is ticking every Wargamer box I possibly have. The models are robust. They feel strong. I've been working with models recently, and every time I touch them, they break. I do not get that feeling from these. It feels like proper gamer models. It's just incredible. So which factions are we looking at here? So if you can just take us on a tour, guys, because It's just amazing.
Okay, well, these are the Nords. These guys actually released in November, so later on, but we want people to see the aesthetics of it and the feeling of it. The Nords are actually on take on a human faction, which is basically Vikings with ogres, sea giants, mountain giants, trolls, and units morphing into bears and wolves. So it's quite a bestial type of faction that ties in very nicely to the world of Conquest.
So give a little bit of background to Conquest itself. Just the elevator pitch. So,
well, the elevator pitch for these guys, for example, is that when the Spires, which is one of the main factions of this world, which is our take on the elves, which are aliens that manipulate biomass, when they first came, they experimented with humans because they thought they would make their perfect foot soldiers, but they were too independent of thought. So they discarded that experiment or destroyed it as they thought. And this is basically the Nords. This is what was discarded by them, and that's why there's this sense in the background that are these different monsters actually native to this world, or is it a result of their experimentation that went wrong? They was too independent of thought, so they just let them out, and they kept growing into a faction of their own, to a race of their own, where all these monsters coexist.
One of the highlights on this table is obviously the giants. They are incredible. Are both these giants from the same kit, or are they separate models? Or
they come from the same kit. Well, actually, one of the two that you see is a T-pose, but we just want to paint it up. In the giant kit, you'll be able to have multiple options. It's both ball and socket for their arms, but you have about 4 or 6 different types of arms and weaponry for them to hold. You have about 7 to 8 different heads and a lot of items to put around them, or different shoulder pads. So every giant will look unique because you can make him as you want to.
Fantastic. Right, let's move.
Is a loose used term, like trees and stuff like that. So you can find a lot of these stuff, in there.
They look amazing. Right, if we head on round to the next table, oh my word. If you think that table you've looked at's amazing, just take a look at this. So we've got my favorite guys here, the 100 Kingdoms. Tell us about the factions on this.
Okay, so 2 factions here. These are actually the first 2 factions we begin with. They're the Spires that we described previously, where the aliens that manipulate biomass, and actually what you see here on the table is primarily not them. It's their constructs that they've actually made. Yeah. They're fit for purpose. They're made for war. Do you want an archer firing quickly? 3 arms. You want a battering ram? I can make one for you. So basically what happens is the 100 Kingdoms are your typical medieval type humans. They have nothing over the top, no monsters, no war machines. They do have access to magic because there's quite a bit of a magic layer to this world, but they're your typical medieval humans, and that contrast between the different factions actually elevates them quite a bit. Most of the fights that we see between Spires and the 100 Kingdoms have to do with the lesser Spires negotiating trade deals with the 100 Kingdoms and the humans. And when those go awry, that's when actually we have war between the two of them, because the agenda for the Spires is completely different. It's not about actively conquering this world, it's about collecting biomass and going back to reclaim their own world.
Yeah. If I can get the cameraman to come around here and zoom in, this in 4 models is what has sold me utterly on this game. Just look at how beautiful these cavalry models are. They are so solid. They're just beautiful. Look at the flag on that. I'm going to show you the grey plastics of these in a few moments, just to see just how beautifully sculpted these are. I'm so taken by this this particular design aesthetic that you guys have chosen for this. It really has impressed me. Okay, moving over here, I think we have a couple more factions actually undergoing a battle over here. So if I pick us up and move us around here, if you can tell us about what's happening here.
Well, this is actually, because it's a second time at UK Expo and quite a few people have actually had an intro game. In this, we've set up an intro game where you're fighting the 100 Kingdoms versus the Dwegum, which is the 3rd faction to be released in August. So they have an opportunity to see something what's coming up, see its play style, touch the miniatures, see the aesthetics, and actually absorb what the game is going to evolve into.
We have this magnificent war beast here. What can you tell us about him?
One of the thing is that now for the Dregum, they don't really like the dragons, and I think you can see it quite clearly in their lore that one of their prime missions was not just to free themselves from slavery, free themselves from dragons, but actually to make them to actually serve them. So here you see what we call a Hellbringer Drake. The Drake itself has all the armor bolted onto its skin. It's in a state of constant torment. That's actually, unfortunately, something that the Dregum really like to do to dragons. And so pretty much they use them now as beasts of burden, and they use their offsprings, the dragon's offsprings, to now make the mighty war machines.
So are these the plastics from the core box?
Yes, it's some of the plastic from the core box. Actually, there's quite a bit more. There's about 16 of these plastic frames, plastic screws in there. But what you're seeing here is a sample of the brutes over there, the two characters and the objective markers, the knight cavalry, and the crossbowmen from the 100 Kingdoms. So we want people to see the actual plastic. We want them to understand that this is the hard plastic they're accustomed to. They'll be using their plastic glue. There's no special cleaning required, easy assembly, easy painting. And that's why we keep pushing the point for this, so that they understand what they're getting. And our core box that you're seeing here in the middle is our basically the great deal we want to bring to the end customer and to get them into the world of Conquest and playing our game.
I've got to say, even the quality of the retail packaging, guys, is just so nice. It really does just come across as such a slick game. I promised you guys I was going to show you a cavalry piece in plastic. Now I'm going to steal one mini and I will put him back exactly where I find him. So it's in fact I could even just lift him out. Check this out. Now, is this one of the pieces in the core box, or is he a separate hero? Or
in the core box, you get 3 knights, but you only get the banner in the expansion box. Mm-hmm. So the commands are all in the expansion boxes, but the core box does contain 75 miniatures for £70.
Oh my word! All the minis are just really, really. I don't know. There's a robustness about the design aesthetic of this. You know, it just feels like something I want to touch and I want to move around the gaming table and even on the flag. I'm just so taken by the design choices that have been made on this game. I'm really excited about this one, guys. Really excited. Okay, thank you to the guys at Parabellum.
Thank you as well.
It's always a pleasure, absolutely. So June 20th, that's...
June 20th, if we miss a couple of days, forgive us, but there's a lot to happen to be out there for.
Okay, right, well, we'll keep you posted, guys, but definitely one to watch. Okay, I've got a little bit of a scoop for you here. I'm joined by the renowned Martin Wallace, and we have a new game that you're working on, Martin. It's called Runestones. What can you tell us about it?
This is a game I've been working on this probably over 5 years now, on and off. And the key concept I started with, I wanted the anti-fantasy flight game. Yes. So I wanted a game that rather than having lots and lots of different components in it, just had one type of component, which basically is a domino-style piece. Yes. Okay, so every player's got their own set of domino-style pieces, and those are multifunctional. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm trying to keep the components as clean as possible.
Yeah.
So what you have here is a fantasy war game for potentially up to 2 to 6 players, depending on how the Kickstarter goes, because the extra players will be, the extra races will be stretch goals. Yeah. But what you have is you have 6 distinct races. So you've got the red guys here, which they have dragons, and then you've got purple that have got zombies, you've got the humans who've got extra leaders, and you've got the Viking type people with ships, you've got the giants who are good at building castles, and then you've got the kind of chaos horde who are just good at running around everywhere and burning things down. So you've got this 6 the asymmetric forces, each one that plays in a very different way. Mm-hmm.
So mechanically, how does it kind of work?
Well, what you have is, to say, each player's got their own set of pieces. You basically shuffle them up, put them in a draw pile, and then you draw a hand of 6. And so the nice thing is, because they're tiles, they stand up on their side.
Right.
Okay, so you can see your 6 tiles. Okay, so each tile has got 3 pieces of information. So for instance, this is a dragon unit. So in the left here, it tells you the build cost. So if I want to put this on the board, I've got to chuck away 2 of my other tiles from my hand. Okay? Then when it's on the board, it becomes the dragon. Then, and each, there's a range of different units. So there's infantry, skirmishers, castles, orcs, and whatnot. And then on the right, you have a pip value. Now, pips are used to pay for movement, to pay for building villages. They can be used in combat, and they can also be used for pillaging. So the thing is, when you put a tile on the board, that means that's no longer in your tile cycle. So it's a bit like a deck. It's kind of, you're gaining in one sense, but you're losing in another way.
Yeah.
So that's the tough decision you've got to make. It's like, what do you keep back to use to pay for movement, to use in combat? What do you put on the board?
Yeah.
Combat, as I say, so most of the actions are kind of building units, moving units. Combat also uses tiles.
Wow.
So I said, as much as possible, I want everything to be the same type of component. Mm-hmm. So whoever's got the biggest stack of units draws 4 tiles. Whoever's got the smaller one draws 3. And then you're only ever using the best 3. And then, so the attacker has the option to substitute. So if they got a really bad draw, they might go, well, I'm going to substitute one of the pieces from my hand. And then the other player, similarly, likewise, can substitute one. So you've got that really tough decision. It's like, yeah, I've got a fairly good score. So do I waste a piece to add to it, or do I take a chance that my numbers are good enough to beat the other person?
Yeah.
So it is a very stressful combat thing. It's but different from a standard roll the dice kind of thing. Yeah. There's a very much an element of poker in it. Reading the other person. Do they look nervous? Are they sweating, or do they look overly confident? Are they?
You want to find out what their tell is.
Yeah. So, and eventually, what you're trying to do is score victory points by getting your villages on the board. That's the main way of scoring victory points. But the problem is, if you get your villages down, then they become targets.
Yes.
Because you can also pillage people's villages. So it's kind of an area control game in the sense that you need to create a defensible area. So you're both defending your places and then also seeing if you can pillage your opponent's places, so whether you can get into there.
Martin, it sounds incredible. Have you got a time scale for going to Kickstarter with it yet?
I'm aiming for November this year. So yeah, I'm going to be showing it here. I'm going to be showing it in Gen Con. I'm going to be showing it at Essen, just kind of build up. And then, hopefully November, but,
Fantastic. Can people find you on Facebook or a website or something?
I've just got a website going, which is wallacedesigns.com.au. So there's a little bit of information up there. Yeah. I'll be putting some stuff on BGG soon. I'm terrible with social media, so I'll have to get one of my friends to do a Facebook thing.
No problem.
Rubbish at that kind of thing. So I will be putting information out there over the next month or so.
Well, Martin, we'll keep in touch as well and try and get the news out to our viewers as well. Martin, look, thank you so much. It looks fascinating. Okay, guys, runes.
Hi everybody, it's that time of the show. I am stopping off with one of my favourite companies. I'm here with Chris from Modifius because I have some pressing questions about Kung Fu Panda and Skyrim. Chris, Kung Fu Panda, it looks great. What are you going to be doing with it at the show this year?
Well, we're demoing it here. This is finally a set of the game that people can play. It's being produced in the factory right now. It's coming out for Christmas. Hallelujah.
Yeah, it looks fantastic, and it's such a nice IP to play around with and do a game on.
Yeah. I mean, it's like Thunderbirds. It's our next kind of what we call it geek mum and dad game. So it's perfect for gaming night. But if you've got kids, also it's amazing because the kids love the property really well, and it's so easy to play because it's like a 15-minute, 20-minute actual play against a timer. It's really fun and furious. I've had like 6-year-olds, 8-year-olds playing it. Brilliant. So.
And if people want to come along this weekend and play the game with you, where are they going to find you guys?
At 552. It's a massive Modiphius sign over our stand. There's actually 8 tables of gaming going on there, so you can play 6 tables of role-playing games all throughout the day, hour-long sessions, so you don't have to sit down for hours. It's like a quick teaser. You'll be able to play Kung Fu Panda, Agatha Christie. You'll be able to see all the new Elder Scrolls miniatures that haven't been seen yet for the basic.
Ooh.
And also be able to play Fallout as well, of course.
Of course. Now, you have the miniature here on the stand. These look absolutely fabulous. I have been dying to see these. Are these available for folks?
So yes, you can actually buy these at the show. So we have a limited number every day, so probably best to come early. And then we're shipping them out from, I think, the second week of June, so people who buy online. And and then we're showing off the whole base set of Elder Scrolls. So it's the Stormcloaks versus the Imperials. You've got Hadvar, Ralof, and others. So it's a really exciting set. Plus you've got a load of Draugr, so you can team up as friends with all the heroes in the set versus the Draugr, or you could play Imperials versus AI Stormcloaks.
So you're building your AI in?
Yeah, exactly. No, it's a simplified AI from Fallout, and we're going to be expanding it as we go. So in Elder Scrolls Call to Arms, the AI is a third piece of terrain. It's an active terrain that's going to interrupt you in your story-based mission. So again, it's not about battles, it's about playing out those stories and quests in the game. And it's so far, it's a lot of fun. So.
I see. Well, I have one little question. Now, I know some of our viewers out there aren't going to be fit to make it to the show, so would you maybe like to give away one of the limited edition miniatures? Come on, because it's me. Oh, dude.
This one is ready to go.
Thank you. Now, I swear I will give this away as a prize. It will not disappear into a pocket. Everybody, get your comments in for your chance to win the limited edition miniature here at UK Games Expo 2019. We'll move on. We'll see you again soon.
All right, guys, so we're here at UK Games Expo, and I'm here with Draw Labs, and we're looking at the very cool-looking Fired Up.
Hello.
So you guys, tell us what it's all about and get people excited for it, because it's coming to Kickstarter soon, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going on Kickstarter at the end of June, like on the 21st of June, probably. It's an arena game, it's a cyberpunk arena game, but we're not the fighters, we're the audience. So,
cool, right, I like the sound of that already.
Thank you. We love arena games, so we want to make a different twist about them. So during the game, we're going to try to influence all those fighters in order to then make some cool highlights that we want to see. So we're in the field, we are seeing this fighting, and at the beginning of every round, we're going to secretly bet what's going to happen.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So something like I want to see somebody doing a lot of damage, or I want to see the strongest fighter completely failing to do any damage this round. So how I'm going to do that is by using my action dice. I have 6 action dice with different actions that allow me to do the various things in any of the fighters that I want.
So if we come over here, you can see some of the action dice here. So you can see what's on your stuff.
Exactly. So every round I'm going to roll them. I'm going to use as many of those actions as I want in a single fighter. So for example, I can cheer this guy up or boo him, whatever I want him to accomplish. I can increase somebody's stats. So if I play this, I can increase, for example, his attack value. I can switch his target so that he's going to attack somebody stronger or perhaps somebody weaker if I want him to do a lot of damage. And every time I do any of those stuff in a single fighter, his influence track is going down by 1. So he keeps listening to the crowd, so he's going to do what people want to see. But at one moment, he will stop listening to us and do his own thing, you know. So I'm going to try to be fired up during the game. So I'm going to see cool things happening, and if I have predicting them, I'm going to get happiness points. And the other way to get points is by betting whose fighter is going to do what. Depending on the game we're playing, we always have 3 bets. Like an early bet might be who is going to be the first to die. A late bet would be who is going to win, stay alive at the end of the game. So I'm going to choose secretly one of the fighters and place him face down on the betting board. So if this happens, I will get some extra points at the end of the game. And that's pretty much Fired Up in a nutshell.
That sounds pretty awesome. In the development of this, and because of the sort of nature of it, where you're like firing up the crowd and getting people to do stuff and like influencing all the different characters and stuff, there must have been some pretty awesome, epic moments that have come up. Are there some of them from gameplay that have like really stuck with you?
Yes, of course. There is a thing where everybody has his own agenda, and you try to strategically manage towards some outcome. And when you are near to achieve it, somebody else is rolling his action dice, and he completely ruins your game. This happens quite a lot of times, and it's almost fun if you're not angry. But it has a lot of these special moments, yes, and we believe it's quite fun at the end of the day.
There are a lot of at the end of the game, like you are building somebody up very much and somebody completely boosts him, so his morale drops and his stats drop, so he's not going to do at all what you wanted him to do. But you can do it with a different fighter. That's the fun of the game, because the objectives don't tell you which fighter you have to use to make them happen. You can adapt and change your strategy to do them with a different fighter if it's not too late.
Sounds very awesome indeed. And so just as a reminder, it's coming to Kickstarter very soon, so people should watch out for that. Yeah, when's it coming out? Yeah,
21st of June, so be fired up for this.
Awesome. And you guys are here all weekend at UK Games Expo showing off the game and stuff like that, yeah?
Definitely. If you want, you can come by and we will play together a game.
Awesome stuff. It does sound very, very cool indeed. What's your booth number? I'm going to test you now. What's your booth number?
We have two booths actually. We have the booth with games is Hall 1, booth 467.
Well done.
Thank you. And because we're also making the legendary metal coins for all sorts of games, we are also in Hall 2, booth 407.
Nice one, guys. Well done. So yeah, if you want to go and check this out, Fired Up looks really, really cool. I love the take on it where it's switching to the audience rather than just playing as a combatant.
Yeah.
Very, very awesome indeed. Watch out for these guys on Kickstarter very soon. We'll see you guys soon in the live blog and on the live streams. Comment to it on everything you can see, because there might be some goodies up for grabs. Some cool stuff coming this way this weekend.
Definitely.
Check these guys out at their booth, and we'll see you guys very, very soon.
See you.
Hi everybody, I am back at UK Games Expo for something very different. I am here with Gavin from the Happy Puzzle Game Company, and I am going to play the Genius Square on camera right now. This could be frantic, this could be mad. Hello Gavin, say hello.
I'm all right, Justin, how are you doing?
I am very good. I am mildly nervous because you're about to teach me a game that I have never played on camera. This could go horribly wrong.
Easiest game in the world to play. You've got 7 dice, and when you roll the dice, there are 62,208 different ways in which the dice can fall. We're going to roll the dice here.
Okay.
And whatever comes up on the dice, all we're going to do is block off those coordinates using these round pieces. So if we do that now, we've got B5 and A6 and C2 and D2 and E4 and A5 and E3. And it works every single time. What we're going to do is race against each other to use these 9 pieces to complete the grid. You ready?
Have I done this right?
No, you haven't done it right. You've done something wrong. You've got one of those in the wrong place. You should have that as E3.
Ah, my bad.
That should be E5. That looks right to me now. You ready?
Okay. This is going to be interesting. Okay.
Do you know what? To make it fair, I'll put one hand behind my back.
I'm going to get beat so badly.
Definitely. Let's
ready?
go.
Okay, go. This is, okay, you there? You there? You can't go there. You can go there. You can go there. You can go there. You can go there. Go there.
And I'm definitely making a huge mess of this here. Not as easy as I thought it was going to be doing it with one hand.
Am I okay to flip pieces over upside down?
Yes, you can, absolutely.
And done.
I wasn't far behind. I was far behind you. There you go. Well done with one hand.
Okay, that was interesting.
So basically, if you want to play every possibility, you'd have to roll these dice at least 62,208 times.
Okay, this was incredibly interesting. Important question, can folks pick this up at the show?
Yes, they can. We are in Hall 2, I think it's stand 119. It's backing onto the windows between the 2 main halls at the top of the stairs.
I see. Well, this was absolutely fabulous. I am absolutely adoring it. I see you have a smaller version. Is this a travel version?
That's the version that people buy. This is the display version. This is what people buy, and there's 20% off at the show as well.
Fantastic. Well, everybody, I tell you what, if you like your puzzle games, if you like something fast and frantic to play with your friends, come and check these guys out. We will move on. We will see you again very soon.
All right, guys, so we're here at the UK Games Expo, and we have got quite a treat for you from the guys at Phallic Games. I'm here with Yarrow, who has been telling me all about these amazing projects they're working on. First of all, bring the camera down here to one of John's favourites. This is U-Boat, which is looking absolutely fantastic. For anyone who hasn't seen this, can you tell everyone what it's all about?
We call it underwater cooperative war thriller.
Sounds absolutely amazing.
Yes, because and actually it solves an alpha player problem as well in cooperative games, because you just put the guy in the shoes of a captain, and then whatever he decides will happen or not, depending on how the crew is efficient. It is again an app assistant game, and yes, you need an app. However, the app is being served by all platforms. There's also been released on computers, so you can have Windows and you can have or iOS. So if you don't have a smartphone, you can play with the computer.
So as we're seeing it here, is it sort of represented on the laptop? You can play on
laptop. You can get it on a laptop as well. It's on Steam, so you can get it there. It's all there. I can only tell you the reviews we're getting and the reaction of the so-called public, so the players, is over what we've expected. I think we're really glad we've picked up this design where it was and published this as Phalanx. It keeps you, there were voices that actually, the immersion is so amazing and not expected, that the hairs are rising on different parts of your body depending when they do, or depending where you have them. That was actually an expression of a Polish reviewer, a lady who was playing it. That's great. And women playing the game, and they love it. One of the tricks is actually when there is a silence on the boat, the app is measuring the level of the sound in the room. So if it became noisy, those destroyers will find you. This is how far we go.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it is cool. It's not. I don't have enough words to describe how I loved it, and how glad I am as a publisher to have it in my portfolio.
Every time we've seen this game at the different shows we've talked to you guys at, it's just got that little better in quality as it's come towards production, and every single time John's been like, I want to play that game, and then he finally got to do it as well.
It is kind of fun, because many years ago I said, look, we're in a business where we have all these sweaty guys, coming, all this, where are the girls? And you know what? With the game that I the least expected to be attractive to women, we have women players. Perfect. Everyone is excited. Everyone, depending on the level of your skill as a gamer or your skill as a U-Boat player, you will find a place on the boat. Because if you're not into, my son, for example, he said, I want to be the first officer. Why the first officer? Because that person works with the app, of course, yeah? So he's 10 years old, and he has to be first officer. However, more advanced players would love to be a navigator, because that's plotting the course of the boat, the speed, making decisions. The chief mechanic, he's running all around this boat with tools and trying to fix things. Amazing. If you've seen the series on the underwater warfare, Das Boot, this recreates. You can be part of it.
That's awesome. And from cooperative,
yes,
we also have competitive, which is coming to Kickstarter quite soon, I believe, as well.
In 12 days?
12 days, something like that.
June the 10th.
So this
is your calendars.
So this is Europe Divided.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about this one?
Yeah. So Europe Divided. I come from the part of the world which was behind the Iron Curtain, and I was glad to see it going down. And we know the game that it tells the story until the Iron Curtain lifted, but this takes it forward from there. This is by a rising star in design, David Thompson and Chris Marling from UK. These guys did a marvelous job on creating a game which is very simple in terms of gameplay, because it's all about managing your hand. So but it's also, they call it a hand dilution game. So your hand is not getting optimized. Actually, not. It's being cluttered with the cards you may not want to have, but you have to have, because that's how things unfold.
So you've got to try and make the best of the bad situations that are arising.
Exactly. That's because so this is more or less Europe 1991, and whatever happened from that time in Europe is on political side is represented through a number of events. And both players, I call it free power two-player game, because it's EU and NATO on one side. So you're basically playing two organizations. So you got a little bit of a schizophrenia, which of the objectives to pursue. On the other hand, you have Russia, which starts weak. After the Cold War, they were kind of weak. And they pick up the pace with the installation of the never-ending president. They have like the person who can hold it in one hand. But we are, I'm trying to be, a bit entertaining here, but we are not taking sides here. We're not telling who the good guys are, who the bad guys are.
You're letting the players sit down and tell their own story with this.
Yes, and we allow for a lot to happen that we know from the current history. If you go look at the events, look at where you can lead, what may happen. You may recreate reality which is similar, which may not be the same as it is today, but could be similar, could be different. We have, for example, the card that says fracturing the EU. Might be UK, might be somebody else.
Might be somebody else. Who knows in this world?
Yeah. Could be Turkey leaving NATO, for example. That's another possibility in the game. So all in all, 60 minutes, two-player, very
good speed for a big tactical game. Yeah.
Skill only. There is not a single die roll, despite you seeing the dice on the board. They are only markers for influence. So instead of flipping cardboard, you have a die and you just change the die to the number of influence you have. So it's very, very neat, very clean in terms of how many components you have, very tense, very...
I love the sound of that. I love the sound of that.
It's a the conflict game at its best. We love conflict games in Palax.
And so, talking of games that are tense and full of conflict, we have another game over here that's also coming to Kickstarter. Is it coming to Kickstarter as well, I believe?
Yeah, but we don't know the date yet because it's still in development. But I would estimate it's going to be our either second or third Kickstarter. The second, the competitor to that slot is Successors, the game bar, but we don't display today.
Well, let's go along this way and see if we can sort of have a look at this. So this one is Race to Moscow.
Yes.
1941 Race to Moscow.
Race to Moscow. There is a number 1941, which is basically a Barbarossa campaign. So the largest ever military campaign in the history of mankind. And different to other war games, this is not really a war game in a sense of fighting. Barbarossa was the logistic exercise, logistic puzzle. How to make those quite small, actually, German armies fight in the vastness of Soviet Russia. Without roads, without railway, with the horse-drawn wagons. How to do it? With the objective being, 1,000 kilometers from the border, right? So they failed. Will you?
So it's a really nice opportunity to try and rewrite history in some senses, in a way, potentially.
And when you look at we're also answering one of the questions which the designers of that conflict always face: what to do with the weather? Because the Germans were not expecting the weather as it was.
Everyone's defeated by
the winter is coming, but
everyone's defeated by the Russian winter. Napoleon was the same.
Yeah, well, at least he took Warsaw. At least he took Moscow.
Yes, yeah.
Nobody else did, except for the Poles in 1612, for which the Russians are not happy until today.
I love your historical insights. This is wonderful.
I can continue for quite long. I don't know how much of an airtime you have. So this, if you look at the board, actually it shows where the Germans are starting. There is nice summer, because they did start in June 22nd. And then the further they go, the worse the weather gets. But contrary to other games where you get into Smolensk and you're trying to figure out what's the weather gonna be, like if you're in Smolensk, it must be mud. Like if you're in Moscow, it must be winter. So you kind of know what you're going to face.
So you do a little bit of planning ahead.
Yeah,
and stuff
it's like a bit of a scripting, but we had a good history to base it on, right?
Yeah.
So this is logistic, kind of pick up delivery, but not only, but also you have to optimize, but it is also competitive because it's either of the players to win, as it was in a prequel called Race to the Rhine. One more remark, I call it 3.5 player game because if you have a player who is inspiring to play, or maybe not learning, the first timer, you put him in the shoes of Stalin, and he will do a great job at the same time learning the game. So there is no...
It's a really nice way to sort of introduce somebody to something that might be a little bit heavier than they might have seen before. Yeah.
But you can skip that one. You can play with just 3, you can play just with 2, or you can play just with 1.
Awesome.
We've put a lot of effort into creating a good automa. So a solitaire player will have actually 3 different games. He can play red, white, or black, and that'll be 3 different games in one box. So there's a good value for everyone. And again, beware of the ladies. They tend to win.
They've got that tactical streak.
I'm always wondering why the women are so good at logistics games. They are. So that is the reality.
Basically, what we're saying is that they should have really been in charge of everything we've ever done because it would have just been a lot better.
I'd be scared to be fighting women, a woman as a commander of opposing forces. She would probably be ruthless,
And so the last game we're looking at here is Nanti Narkins.
Actually, with the women on the box. Yeah. Which was, I think, one of the first, actually, ladies to appear on the game boxes.
That's awesome stuff.
I said, look, there is no ladies on the game boxes. With the moment we went to the Kickstarter, and we put that beautiful lady with a Victorian London in the background. I live not nearby now. I live not far from London.
Oh, cool.
And so for me, it's also a way to when I play the game, I also learn a lot because there is 100+ cards, and each of them is a personality from Dickens or other, stories that did happen in Victorian London. We have famous personalities. We have beautiful buildings. We have stories about every that minion, which used to be a generic minion in another game, very very popular game on different subject, but using similar mechanics.
Yes.
Let's put it this way. Now all these minions have a role in the game. They may be used in a different way, so it's giving them more depth, more replayability, and I think players who are playing the previous attempt by the same designer would have a lot of fun rediscovering the game because it's totally different now. However, based on the same proven and well-working mechanics.
So Nanti Narkins are fantastic. We've shown it off a little bit on our website, so over on OnTableTop.com. You can go and see some awesome stuff about Nanti Narkins. You guys are actually going to be very, very nice, and you're going to be giving away a copy of Nanti Narkins to one of our...
Go with this one. It should be out for all the backers before end of September. So hopefully by the end of September, we will be able to actually go to retail because we've promised the backers that they will be getting their copies before it goes to retail. So rest assured, you won't be getting your copy. You will be getting your copy before it goes to retail, and we hope to be in retail. I do. By the end of December. Let's see. Well, we'll see what the production says, but that is the plan.
So make sure to comment down below. You can win yourself a copy of Nanti Narkins for later on in the year, which would be pretty awesome. Phalanx Games have got some amazing stuff coming up. Watch out for these 2 Kickstarters. They look absolutely fantastic. If you like your war games and a little bit more of that historical edge to things, you've got some really good stuff coming up. U-Boat as well, man. Looks fantastic. Make sure you go and check out our Let's Play. We'll see if we can get a link into the description or something like that. That'd be pretty cool. Some fantastic stuff coming up here for the rest of the show as well. We're going to be doing live blogs and live streams throughout the whole of the weekend, which is pretty cool. Brilliant. What booth are you guys at here at UK Games Expo? Do you remember?
Good question. B205, I'd say.
Boom.
B205.
Boom, there we go.
205, because it's 205.
There we go, guys. So make sure you go over and see these guys at their booth, chat to them, look at all these games, see what you think for yourself as well. Comment down below. We'll be back in the next video very, very soon.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
Cheers.
Hey everybody, it's Ryan here. I had to stop by at this next booth at UKGE with Felix from Pacho Sacco This is one of the most interesting chess variants I've ever seen, and I love the theme behind it. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, well, it's designed actually to learn little kids chess, but not in the traditional way that it's a war game. So it's a love game, and therefore it looks like chess, it moves like chess, but then it ends. Instead of taking the pieces, they form dancing couples. And so the board fills with all kinds of couples. No piece leaves the board. So instead of a complex endgame with few pieces, now the endgame is complex with a lot of pairs. The end aim stays to embrace the king. Then you win his heart, you win the kingdom, and you win the game. But to do that, you have to be the best player. So you have to maneuver all these pieces in such a way that just one piece is free to embrace the king. Because a pair cannot embrace the king, with three in an embrace is one too many.
Three is a crowd.
Yes, that's a crowd. So the pawn can overtake the position of the bishop, and the bishop is free to embrace the king. So that's a chain turn, yeah.
It's not just in the theme that's amazing, but actually the chain reactions in this chess variant are super amazing. Can you tell me what was the inspiration behind this game?
The fact that these days people should be more harmonious, more aimed at peace than working with war games and fights and whatever. So we have to love each other and learn it quick on the table.
Felix, thank you so much for talking to us. I'm getting a copy of this. It's one of the few games that's given me shivers. This much. I'm in love with this game. I'm in love with the concept. Everybody, come check out Pacho Saco. What booth number are you at, Felix?
It's hall number 2 and stand number 492.
Hall number 2, 492. I beseech you all, please come and check out this game. Very amazing. Thank you so much. We'll see you in the next video.
All right, guys, so we're here at the UK Games Expo, and I'm here talking with Carl and Callum from Crooked Dice, and we're going to be looking at their new 7TV Pulp. Now, I love a bit of Pulp. I'm sure many people love a bit of Pulp, but could you tell us what you've done differently with this one going forward and stuff?
Well, the first thing is that it's not just Crooked Dice. Oh. This is a unique collaboration. Callum is from Edgehill University, and we have partnered with them in the last 2 years to develop the game, and this has been developed by Dr. Peter Wright and me, and a cadre of 2 years worth of students who have written the material that you've got there. And this has not been part of a course. This is voluntary on top of all the rest. Extracurricular is the term. So it's been a wonderful experience kind of working with them, and with 7TV. Rather than looking at either Cult TV or kind of video nasties that we did with kind of Apocalypse, we're now looking at the classic serials from the 30s and 40s. So, and the other pulp influences that develop over the years. So, you know, you can play the Intrepid Adventurer or the Occult Investigator or Space Ace or the Alien Tyrant. As with 7TV, it's not just one game. You can play Gangsters or Flash Gordon or Indiana Jones,
always cool,
or anything in between, depending on the sort of tone of the game that you want to play. So there's a few new features in there as well, which Callum's and the guys, like there's a MacGuffin deck and some peril cards. I don't know if
I was going to say, Callum, if you wanted to talk us a little bit more about the sort of deep mechanics and that kind of thing that go into this?
Sure thing, absolutely. For this one, we made a brand new status to represent the kind of pulp nature. It's capture and escape. So basically, the underdog always caught and gets rescued right at the last minute. We've done perils as well. So the boulder run, the kind of tropes that you see it along there. To give it a bit of flavour in this game. And these are all extra parts that can be taken here, put into other parts of 7TV that can be represented in Spy-Fi. So we worked really hard to make sure it was incorporated in the 7TV family, as well as representing Pulp as fairly as we could.
Do you have a specific aspect of it that is like your favourite bit?
My favourite bit is probably captured. It must be. I know I'm really hammering it home.
Development there, didn't it?
It's a love-hate relationship. No, it's a really fun mechanic that changes. It's a tactical choice of whether you want to kill a model or remove them from play, or whether you want to capture them, and it adds another layer to the gameplay that we really enjoyed.
That's very cool. What about you? Do you have any favourite bits?
Honest, I've said this before, but it's really been challenged by the team.
Yeah.
And you know, you'd sit there and you write wargaming rules for wargamers to play, and the guys have come in with a completely new perspective on it and said, actually, the rulebook would be better restructured like this. And what about examples? And that's been great to kind of you sit there and do it in isolation sometimes, but working with a bigger team of people. Just helps
raising those questions. It was scary.
I think it's good. You need to be challenged on these things. So yeah, but it's been a joy, and this is all of their hard work.
So when can people actually get their hands on it fully now? So
it's launched at the show today.
Launching at the show today. So
it'll be available at slight discounts this weekend if you'd like to come to stand 1108.
No, you can put your booth in. Go for it.
Oh yeah, it's a 108.
Go for it. Come to the show this weekend and see these guys and see what it's all about.
So we've got that. We've got some Pulp miniatures that are being available, and I've got a coming soon shelf on the thing. So we'll be. Shock troopers and some fish folk and various things, because there's some kind of Cthulhu aspects to the game as well.
One of the highlights of my job is going onto Facebook to try and find news for the website, and then seeing that you've put up an update and going, yes, something cool. Oh my god. So yeah, it's fantastic stuff. And you guys are going to be very, very nice, and you could actually win a copy of 7TV Pulp by commenting down below on this video, telling us what you like about it, what kind of scenarios you'd want to play out, that kind of thing as well. We'd all love to hear that kind of stuff, would be pretty awesome. So yeah, make sure you get stuck into that. We're going to be doing live streams and live blogs throughout the whole rest of the show over the next 3 days, which will be pretty awesome, so make sure you tune in for those.
If you'd like to come and play a game on the stand, we've got 2 beautiful terrain boards, so come and have a game.
Yeah man, everybody loves seeing beautiful terrain, and you know, it does seem like a game that evokes the idea of the terrain maker who wants to try and create something fascinating and awesome. So
plenty of scope to do anything, ganglands or jungle adventures, whatever you like.
So come and get some inspiration from their stand here at UK Games Expo. We're going to move on to do another video soon, so we'll see you soon. Bye for now.
Hi guys, so I am getting my chance to try out the new Citadel contrast paints. So we knew they were going to be on trial here at UK Games Expo, so the team thought, what better way to put them to the test than to send the worst possible painter that we have, someone who's afraid to paint, and I don't believe I've ever managed to paint a full army. So the Citadel contrast paints are kind of being pitched as something to help us paint our armies quicker. Now there's other methods that have been out there, like the Army Painter Dip method with your quick shade, but this is kind of reversing it. This is doing a lot of the shading work all at the start of the process as opposed to the end of the process. And what we want to know is just how well do they work. So this morning I'm going to have a crack at a couple of models to try and put some things that I find difficult to the test. So we have 2 types of model, and there's 2 types of primer, okay? So we have 2 organic models. Now, with organics, one of the things that I find difficult, and I've never really attempted it, is wet blending. And I see some beautiful results where fleshy tones and things like that gradually blend from one to the other using a wet blending technique. Now, wet blending is quite an advanced painting technique, and it can take some considerable time. However, we're starting to see early results from the contrast paints. That these contrast paints are actually kind of lending themselves to a, what one might say is maybe a more beginner type of wet blending, just because of the way the paint works and the way it takes to dry. So I'm going to have a crack at that this morning. You'll notice that I have 2 different shades of primer on this. So let me see if I can get that there. And I want to get the names of the primers just right. So I have them written down here. So this one is Grey Seer, and apparently it's more suited to creating the darker tones. And this one is Wraithbone, and it's supposedly going to give us a slightly more poppy result. You'll notice that both are kind of off shades. So grey and a slightly off-white. I think that's probably there to give us kind of like a neutral starting point rather than a full highlight or dark. We'll see. As we play with it, I'll maybe get a bit more of an idea of why they've opted for those 2 shades. Whoa! The rush is about to start. they're going to come in their droves. The next thing I'm going to test is, it's all very well organics, but we want to know how well these paints will work on armor. So I have a Space Marine. And one of the most difficult colors to get right on a Space Marine, for me, is yellow. I love the Imperial Fists. I think that they're an amazing chapter. However, most Imperial Fists armies that I've ever seen or ever been involved in, they've used like a yellow base coat, and yeah, it's been the only way. Painting with yellow is a very laborious and a very time-consuming process. So I'm going to have a go at seeing how well the yellow works. So before we get too far into it, I want to have a look at the actual paints. I'm going to put them out on a palette here, just to see what the consistency is like. Because I'm going to give it a shake. I've been told that they're safe to shake, and I don't necessarily have to stir them. So I'm going to give it a shake to make sure that whatever pigment is in it is well mixed. We're going to pull it out and get a feel for what it's like. Oh, it is quite strongly pigmented. You can see there. Yeah, it's almost slightly sticky, which is interesting, and yeah, the pigment levels are actually pretty strong in that. So definitely the contrast paints have two key elements to them. They have what looks like a relatively high pigment level, but then the medium that it's suspended in must be slow drying and allowing the pigment to settle in and to kind of fall off the higher surfaces and settle in to the lower surfaces. That's what gives us our shading. So it's let me try a couple of the others. So here we have the Black Templar contrast paint. So let's give that a go. Again, let's see what it's... Now that, again, you can see just how much pigment is in that. Like if we compared that to a wash, for example, a wash would have nowhere near, I believe, the levels of pigment that's in that. And even moving it around, you can see how the pigment moves within the medium. Just like that, you can see it always kind of settling in and drawing down. So definitely the combination of the two materials, or the two kind of ingredients of the paint, are very, very interesting. Okay, and then the final one I have to look at. Let's have a look at Blood Angels Red. So we'll give that one a go. So once again, look at that. You can see that the movement there and how it all kind of settles down and starts to flatten out. That bodes well, actually, because one of the things that I worry about is getting brush strokes. But this is why they're saying one thick coat, because obviously the more of the medium that's available there on the actual miniature, the more the pigment will be able to do its work by contracting into the lower surfaces where the medium is at. Okay, I think it's time to select some paints and start to have a go at our models. Okay, so I've managed to track down some of the paints. So this is the little selection I have to work from this morning. Now we're going to do this in a couple of goes, okay? And we're going to try a couple of techniques. So on the organics, like I said, I want to see if we can accomplish that wet blending technique using the contrast paint. So I'm going to have a go at painting a number of different colors on these guys all at the same time, and then leave them to dry and see what the effect is like. But on the Space Marine, I'm going to just hit it with the yellow and give him a good coat of yellow just to see what the end result is like. But the only paints I'm going to use at all on any of these are the contrast paints. So let's kick off with the Space Marine. Okay, so I have my Space Marine, and I've been advised to get the Imperial Fist color, I want to use Contrast Ayandan Yellow. So let's crack it open and let's one thick coat this. Now, I'll point out already, there are some bits of blue on this because it was just primed on the sprue. So we're going to have to forgive if there's some elements there that look a bit strange. That's okay, we can forgive that because it's the general effect that we're after. So let's get in and one thick coat this bad boy. The key will be working out just how thick a thick coat actually has to be. So let's see. Just working the brush to get it in and to make sure that it's going to pool in the right areas. So, and then if I've got too much in a particular area, I want to try and work it out of those areas. I think, again, remember, of all of the team, I would be considered the most novice of all the painters because I just don't like doing it. But I've got to say, so far, I'm enjoying this. This doesn't feel like rocket science to me, and I feel like it's a fairly forgiving process. I don't feel like I'm ruining the model just yet. We're probably going to go through quite a lot of this paint if this is the method that we're going to have to use to use it. So maybe as we get a little bit more confidence, we'll decide to use a little bit less of it and be a bit more, I don't know, accurate, I suppose, in where we're going to put it down. But for the purposes of this, I'm quite happy to just stick it on. We want to make the paint, the actual contrast paint itself, do as much of the work as we can. Because I can definitely see us giving the contrast paints a little bit of a hand by potentially priming these models black first, and then actually then using the new primers to add a zenith coat to it so that we can give them even more contrast. But again, that wouldn't be putting the contrast paints to the full test, so we're not going to worry about that now. That's one to test when we get these into our own hands back at the studio. Now, let me clean the brush off and let's start to have a look and see areas where we think there's too much pooling and start to see if we can bring the paint away. So we're going to dry the brush a little bit on the palette, and I can see here, so we want to see how forgiving this is for areas where we have put it in too thick, and then we're going to take the paint off on the palette. So far so good. The brush is lifting the paint lovely, and that's the one of the benefits of the slow drying nature of this paint, is it's going to be a lot more forgiving for us whenever we go back over a model and remove the areas where we've been excessive. You can see I'm having to pull off, you know, a fair chunk of paint there. Some of you more seasoned painters were probably aghast at the amount that I'd put on in the first instance, but it's been forgiving enough to allow me to make up for the fact that I did put a lot on. And again, I wonder if I give the model a shake, does the pigment itself react and allow it to kind of settle in to the spots where we have it? I think I'm quite content potentially to leave that to dry, and we'll come back to that later and see how it looks. Okay, so I had left the weapon available because I want to try some of this black. So I'm just going to put a bit onto the palette there, and I'm just going to carefully work it in to see how it works on something like a weapon. There we go, happy enough with that. Getting a decent amount of coverage. Again, they say one thick coat, so I'm gonna go for it and give it one thick coat. Let's leave it and we'll see how that turns out later on today. Okay, so now to have a play with the organics. So I've done we've done a couple of quick tests here. So first thing we wanted to see was we have this contrast skeleton horde that we've put down over the two different base coats. So let me show you those to see how you look. So this is skeleton horde over grey sear. So you can see it's cold. I actually really like that. I think that's a beautiful effect from skeleton horde on that. And then here we've put the same contrast paint down over wraith bone. And you can see it's a much warmer take on it. So yeah, let me try. Sorry, my clumsy hands here, guys, but the two primers really do make quite a difference to the end result of the contrast paint. Right, we have a plague bearer or some kind of gribbly dude, and what we're going to have a go at now is painting this guy just solely with the contrast paints, have a crack at the wet blending, and see just what effects we can actually get. So when we say wet blending, it's not wet blending in the traditional sense. It's kind of like a wet blending cheat that we're going for. So I'm going to paint him up, just having a look around the model to see what bits we have. So again, I'm going to have a go at just painting this guy only with the contrast paints. So I'm going to be quite careful where possible with where I put them. So I'm going to use this green, which is a plague bearer flesh, and I'm going to try and restrict it just to the flesh areas. I think I can come as low as there, because he's obviously wearing pants. So I'm going to do the trousers, the shorts there, in a different color. So I think I'm quite happy to go along the face. Again, they're recommending one thick coat, and one thick coat is exactly what I'm going to do, and try and let the contrast paints do as much work for me as I possibly can. I'm told that the medium itself should dry and evaporate quite a bit, leaving me a nice flat surface. So even areas where it's a little bit gloopy, such as here, it'll dry out flat, but just with a lot of pigment in that area. So we want to keep an eye on that, make sure we don't over pigment an area. So next step, I'm going to do the feet. So I'm going to pick out what we've got here and go in and do the feet of this gribbly guy. Don't know if you can see that, hopefully you can. We're going to use a little bit of that brown to do the weapons now. So give it a bit of a shake. Oh. Open it up. So this is contrast skeleton horde. And then I also have Gulliman flesh. So I think we will go with the skeleton horde on the weapon, just to see how that turns out. Okay. And then a couple of the wee bits of the leather, and we'll do that black. So let's do the shorts. For the shorts, we'll make them wear a pair of jeans, will we? So we'll go with, let's see if we can find a blue somewhere. Here we go. There we have Ultramarines blue. Very carefully put the blue on. Let that strong blue pigment blend in and try and see if we can cover up where I overwent with the green. Let that blue work in there. It's quite interesting. Like, watch this. So I'm going to show you how these paints actually mix. So let's get some blue on there. And then to that blue, because I noticed we didn't have a purple here, but I suspect that these paints are going to mix beautifully and it will be able to just make a purple. So let me get a nice big lump of red and let's just see what the effect is. Look at that. Perfect mix. There's no issue there at all. Let me get some more blue to that and increase the blue aspect of it. So we're looking at kind of like 2 parts blue to 1 part red, and we should get a purple. Look at that. Lovely. So we've got to bear in mind that anywhere where these paints touch, they are going to blend. They're just going to blend by themselves. There's not much in the way of work that we're going to have to do. Let's play by actually mixing up some of these paints and see just what happens when we layer one on top of the other. So we have the Gribbly Beast and we have a lot of bleeding areas, right? So let's take some reds and feed the reds just directly in on top of the green to see what happens. So we're getting a little bit of red on the brush, and we're just going to go into there. Ooh, look at that. Man, it just immediately wanted to flow. You've got to be careful with this stuff, don't you? So let's just get it in there. Oof. It's aggressive, isn't it? It is quite aggressive the way it just flows around. I have another one here which has been left to dry just a little bit. So let's see if we can have a little bit more control when the paint starts to dry a touch. So this time we want to just get it into the wound of the belly. Yeah, so by giving your first coat time to dry out just a bit, not too much, but just a bit, it stops the pigment from flowing from one of the medium through the other, and it'll give you just that little bit more control. I'm wondering if we can take a little bit of our purple and kind of mix it into the outer edges of that to give us a little bit of bruising. You're starting to, it's a pretty gross looking wound. We have some outgrowths on the back, so let's see if we go a bit more with the purple, try and pick out some of these pox marks. Yeah, we're definitely starting to have an effect, and already the whole thing is, you know, it's got plenty of shading to it. I wouldn't say that this paint is going to necessarily change my life so far, but it's certainly a good option to have, and I think with more practice and more experimentation, we're going to find some really quick and interesting methods of getting some paints and stuff down on the models. But yeah, we'll leave that to dry. We will come back a bit later on and see how the Space Marine armors and stuff have all flattened out, and yeah, we'll get another discussion of it then. So I hope you enjoyed those highlights, guys. Remember, look, if you're nearby, why not come on up, because we're still running on the Saturday and the Sunday. So if you want to learn more, go to ukgamesexpo.co.uk. If you can't, you can always follow the footage on OnTableTop.com. And remember, we have a ton of prizes. Come across, post your comments, and win stuff. Believe me, it's an easy thing.
I'm just also going to say, make sure we get this show trending on Twitter and all across, so we can get loads of people involved with this, because if you haven't seen tabletop gaming before, this is a perfect opportunity to do so. So you've got hashtag UK Games Expo and hashtag UKGE 2019. Share it on social media. If you see some other videos, share those out to your friends and that kind of thing as well. Maybe some of your non-gamer friends. Come down over the weekend, have some fun. There's so much cool stuff here to see. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, guys, we will see you tomorrow bright and early for Saturday at UK Games Expo 2019.